little bit about how this all started? Was it the story that came first, or maybe the world you set it in?
Well, I think in general, probably the world, in the sense that it's a world that I've been fascinated with for many, 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 many years. Even my short films sort of take place in this type of world, which really I would just call pulp. You know, I think this is a world that's like taken from old like men's adventure magazines, or you know, the artwork of Robert McGuinness, the writing of James Cain. I mean, that's the world of the movie. And then I met my writing partner, Webb Wilcoxon, and we had very similar sensibilities, and we built up from there and wrote this. It took us about a couple of years. And yeah, I think that's where it started, and then we made it.
How was the experience actually getting the green light to make it? Because I feel like most producers would probably look at an idea like that and be like, wow, that's like really ambitious for a first feature. So was there any challenge convincing them that you could do it the right way?
You know, it took a long time. It took a long time, not necessarily convincing producers, but just raising the money and being able to make it. It took a couple of years until we were able to actually make this. I think all I knew is that, you know, I came with a very specific vision and a very specific, this is what we want the movie to be, you know. And then you have to just be persistent and go with it and not let anything kind of get in your way. It takes a long time, but that's what we're doing. That's the way it is. You're either on board or you're not on board. And then you keep moving and you move forward, and you just have to keep moving forward, basically. So as long as you just have that, you know, direction, you're eventually we got there.
So would you say that the final cut of the film is pretty consistent with what you wanted from the start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it. Film changes all the time, so it's not necessarily exactly what we wrote or exactly what we even shot. It's what was edited and then put together, and with the music, it becomes its own entity because of. At first, when it begins, it's just an idea that, you know, we had, or like something that Webb and I were working on, and you bring in so many people to collaborate with you that it gets its own life and it becomes a new creature, basically. So I'm very, very happy with it, and I think that that's a great interpretation of what we started with.
And how about when you bring cast into this? How was the casting process? Did you go out and give these people here offers, or was it more of a mixing, matching, audition type process?
I gave all these people offers.
I can understand why.
Yeah, but it wasn't well with yeah.
So did I. I'm going to interrupt you because I was mentioning it last night, and I guess I was typecast in this role because of my level of arrogance. I'm so similar to this guy. No, I thought I was going to meet Oren, and I thought I was testing him out to see if I was going to be willing to do a movie with a first-time feature director, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'll go get coffee. And about 2.5 hours into this conversation, I realized that it had been the opposite the whole time. Because it was like, oh no, we'll think about it. We'll see. I was like, well played, sir. I had no idea that I was essentially auditioning for this. But it was, in our experience, it was finding somebody, sort of like when you were a kid and you find a movie that somebody else loves and you watch it in the basement, finding someone that's similarly like-minded about interests and about specific movies, and how to go about doing them, how important shooting on film is. We ended up having like a 3-hour lunch about becoming best friends. So,
Did you guys have a similar experience?
Well, I did audition. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, as soon as I read the script and met with Oren, it was like a no-brainer because he's such a thoughtful and knowledgeable filmmaker, and it's such a unique project. And to be a female protagonist in this really hard Scrabble world, you don't see that. And I was on board as soon as I read it and met him.
Oh, sorry, please. I was gonna say good things about everybody, but you
Oh,
go first.
oh,
and then
wait.
I'll go. No.
Okay, we'll make sure you keep getting to say that. My manager sent me the script. She's worked with Donna, our producer, before, and she said, "I think you're gonna like this one because it's very much up your alley," and it was very. I love how highly stylized it was and how different it was. Then I had a Skype call with Oren because I was in Poland for Christmas, and I sort of saw the visual package, and I loved it, and I just sort of thought, yeah, I want to be part of this. This is going to be a great journey, and he was just so clear about what he wanted to do with it, and that's, for me, that's key as an actor.
Compliments.
Well, I will say, just in terms of how they, so, Jocelyn, I watched House of the Devil at Tribeca years ago. When was this?
2008.
1987.
Yeah, 1987.
That was actually my first junket ever in
Oh,
New York
really?
City. Yeah.
Cool.
And watching that, Jocelyn's acting fit my sensibilities so much that I really watched it, and I was just like, I'm not sure what movie I'm gonna make or what feature I'm gonna make, but she's gonna be the star of it. That's my, that's where that started, and I think that, a lot of the characters had, we kind of had ideas in our head for like old school actors for them. Like Gloria was Gloria Graham, or in our minds when we were writing it. And Isabella, when I saw her material, like her acting, I just was blown away. There's so much like such a deep soul in everything she does, and like it's so layered. And I was like, she will be amazing, and she was. And I think it's such a hard. Gloria is a really hard role to nail because it could very easily become one-dimensional, very easily. And it's so layered and it's so complex that I thought you did an incredible job. And AJ, I thought Gold was actually somebody who, even from writing the script, we weren't totally clear on who Gold is, in the sense of we didn't have. This would have been the actor 40 years ago, it would have been Gold. We were kind of like, we were searching. And as soon as I met AJ, because I really didn't, even when I was casting, I wasn't sure. And as soon as I met AJ, it was just kind of like, oh yeah,
I told you it was love at
Gold.
first sight. It took 3 hours.
It really was. It was like, this is him. And AJ brought up some influences that he thought were right for Gold, and they were applied on. Walking Tall, and and we were. That's how
It's a good scenario when people that are so much. I think I'm finding that as we keep making movies is that it's not always. I think that you can't undervalue or overstate how much compatibility plays, and a lot of times there's something missing from that, and so you deal with. It's like anything else. You don't have enough shoot days, or like locations whack or whatever. But oftentimes compatibility of like interest, creative interest, and creative thought process about building out a movie, a story to tell together. Sometimes it's very rare that you get to have everybody sort of on the same page with that stuff, and that should be the best case scenario. And it kind of was for us, which is crazy because at least on my end, Jocelyn was the only person that I knew, and I mean I knew Jay and RTP, but for all of these people that have had very different types of gigs over the years to sort of completely cohesively get together and like have it be a joy for us to be out there making the movie. My only question is why is Carlton in it so little? I thought he was the lead. I thought we shot a lot more stuff.
Well, we have the sequel coming.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of stuff that you shot that didn't make it into the final cut of the film?
Not too much. There's some stuff. I mean, all of AJ stuff. But, no. I actually think you only had 4 scenes, so you didn't get cut at all.
No.
Like literally nothing. There were stuff that got cut. I mean, the first cut was essentially longer. It was over 2 hours. So it got cut to 80 82 minutes without titles. So there are definitely things that we cut out, but it was really important to trim any type of fat from the movie. It needed to be like, you just need to be sharp.
How about just in terms of the amount of exposition you give the audience? Because all of these characters, we get who they are and what they're about, but at the same time, they're all still a mystery, and it kind of helps the mystery of the whole narrative. So how do you gauge whether or not that's reading well?
You mean like the zero exposition? I like when things are unsaid. I think that it's stronger not to say something than to say it. And when they have their inner worlds and their backstories in their characters, like in the present, it will all come out in subtext. There's one scene between Justin and AJ where they talk and they sort of flirt, but every single line in that scene is subtext. Like nothing that is said is the meaning of what it is. So I personally find it more interesting than to just say anything and just reveal when you need to reveal it when you need to reveal it. So that's where I come from with that.
In modern acting, in the like indie digital world or whatever, just the way that we are, like you've been saying all day, like the way that we've gotten to be such ADD people with our content, with our entertainment, and honestly, I'm not saying that as an insult, but it reaches quick cuts. Everything's an MTV, quick cut here and there. The same thing with performance, where we're no longer experiencing. These days as actors, mostly our job is literally to say exposition, and that dialogue is what indicates the change in what happens with us. With this one, the joy about it is that it's the opposite of that. When what the exposition is the subtext in between the moments. So for us, like most of the scenes in the movie, I think that I was noticing last night is that the energy of what's going on between the two people changes in the scene, not on a cut and without dialogue for the most part. There's a subtext moment where both of them, a light flashes and then it starts changing. Like the scene with Jocelyn and I, there are 4 or 5 different times where they both think that it's going one way and it changes, and then we don't have to discuss it with the audience. They can figure that out or interpret it their own way.
Now, without spoiling anything, I wanted to ask about the bathroom fight scene, because super close quarters, and I didn't really see, nor I'm always busy looking out for stunt doubles, and I'm assuming you use them, but I certainly didn't catch those cuts.
I will say that Justin did not use stunt doubles.
Yeah, for that scene, I was just talking about how one of my proudest moments on the film was when the stunt woman said, "Oh, I felt like I was fighting another stunt girl." So that was pretty rad. And most of the movie, I'm kind of being this methodical observer and just watching. So to be able to get that opportunity to have that action, and I love a physical challenge like that. And I did learn a lot from working with the stunt people, and even working with the cars too. That was a really cool opportunity to learn how to use those muscle cars from the 70s. But the bathroom scene was intense, and it was like we were fighting the sun coming up. Everyone was exhausted. It was one of the last days. It was freezing cold, and my adrenaline was crazy. But it was so much fun to be able to do that and to have that opportunity.
And now, before we have to wrap up, I wanted to ask about an upcoming project, and I've heard a lot about Night of Cups. I was talking to Antonio Banderas, and he had some pretty insane stories about what it was like shooting that film, so I wanted to ask, did you have any crazy stories as well?
Well, I was in the scene with him. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not sure what made it into it, but it was the experience of a lifetime to be able to just work with him and work with Terrence Malick and see what his process was. And I'm sure you've heard about the torpedoing, and I was one of the torpedoes, basically coming into the scene and trying to upset or bring something new to the main characters. And I knew I was supposed to be representing innocence, but I didn't know much more than that. So it was basically getting introduced to Antonio Banderas and Christian Bale and having to improvise something with them, which was wild.